are aware and in contact with the godless of Rav Yitzchak Berkovits. He was the Menahel Ruchni of Yeshivas Eshet Torah for over 16 years, where he was involved with hundreds of young men and women at various yeshivas and seminaries on their path to Torah observance and guiding people through various stages of growth as dedicated Yidden, responsible parents, and community leaders. He also developed and taught Eshet Torah's Smicha program, guiding over 80 graduates through successful completion. Berkovits is a prominent and widely sought after posek, as we said, about Eitzah, involved with Hashkafa, and he's an international advisor in community matters. He also heads the Kollel of Linas HaTzedek network in Eretz Yisrael and in the U.S., which is dedicated specifically to the study of the mitzvahs ben Adam L'Chavero. His classes in halachic issues and kiruv have been an important component in many outreach training programs. In addition, he regularly trains groups of yeshiva students as future rabbanim who have consistently taken positions of leadership around the world. Berkovits is known for his original thinking in halacha, parenting, marriage, and many other areas, and he's been disseminating his thoughts throughout the Jewish world in the form of writing, audio tracks, and video. Last year he spoke in the Tisha B'Av movie put out by the Chofetz Chaim Foundation, and there's this sefer that he put out that's in the back if you want to take a look afterwards. In addition, as many students have also spread his ideas throughout the world. In fact, there's a couple of Sfarim who were mechaber by one of his Talmidim that's also in the you can take a look at in the back as well. I'm going to just turn it over to Morty Weinberg, who's going to say a small Bar Torah from Berkovits and just speak for 2 minutes about the Kollel itself, and then we'll hand it over directly to Berkovits.
It's an honor really to speak about Berkovits, to speak about the Kollel. Tremendous honor for me. Just wanted to say over Dvar Torah, which I don't remember exactly, but something about it that stuck out in my head. This covered Rebbe, I might be saying it wrong, but it says in this week's Parsha that when Parlour enslaved the Yidden, so he made them, but even Ari Miskunis LeParoi, as Pisam as Ramses. They built Pisam and they built Ramses. And Rashi says, they were not Roi originally for this, and they built them strong. And there's a famous Gemara that says that they were built Rishon V'Yisroises, Pitahaim Balu, that they were swallowed up into the ground, that they built something which was not valuable. It just fell down quickly. So we all know the famous Vart, but Berkovits really brought it out, I think, at the time, that if I would be in capture and I was building as a slave for the enemy, why would I want to build something that's a permanent structure? I'd be happier if the things that I built just got destroyed, if the things that I built had no purpose. Why would this be something that would bother me? And again, I don't know if I'm saying 100% correct, but I think that he said over a story about someone he met who was in Siberia. And this fellow who was in Siberia was forced as slave labor to build, I think it was a house with his just very basic tools. And this fellow, believe it or not, he said when he spoke to this guy, he said his biggest accomplishment in his life was that house that he built. Which is a fascinating idea. He built the house for his captors, as a slave, he built the house. But if I remember right, the idea that Berkovits was saying is that we're put in this world to accomplish. We're put in this world to create. We're put in this world to do, to accomplish, to create. And even if we're doing it for our captors, even when we're enslaved, there's nothing worse than pointless work. There's nothing worse than not accomplishing. There's nothing worse than not creating. And even if you're doing it for your captors, even if you're doing it as a slave, it could be that the building of that house could be your greatest accomplishment because you're accomplishing and you're doing and you're seeing what you could do. And if anyone wants to know the benefit of the Jerusalem Kollel is a place where you can't come in for one day without hearing the words achrayas, without hearing the words we have to be big, we have to accomplish, we have to do, we have to be big. I mean, if I had to say one word that symbolizes the whole Kollel, I have to choose between big and achrayas. And we're here to be big. We're here to accomplish and to do. And Berkovitz's whole thing is to have a chayes in a person's learning. Whether it's in the learning, a person comes to the kollel and you have to come out. You have to know. You have to come out. You have to be able to paskin. You have to come out and you have to know what the halacha is. It's not enough just to learn. You have to have an achrayus for your learning, and we have to have shmir starim. We have to have achrayus for our benanim l'chaveru. We learned the halachas of benanim l'chaveru. Achrayus, everything was about having an achrayus for our actions, an achrayus for our learning, an achrayus for who we were, and to reach out and to accomplish and to do more. And that's what the kol is. The kol is a place where it's a little place in Eretz Yisrael which spreads out throughout the whole world. And when I first came to Toronto, I didn't even realize how many people here, how many people were students of the kol, learning in this, running the Forest Hill Jewish Center all the way down up north to the Thornhill Woods, to Rabbi Sitzer's place in Thornhill Woods, and sprang through the whole Toronto. There were so many members of the kollel who were sent out by Berkovits, and that's just in Toronto, and going around the whole world, because it's time to do. We have to have a chayes. We have to continue. We have to do, and that's really the message of the kollel, and that's really what the purpose of the whole kollel is. And I hope that all of us could a little bit take this message and to continue to have a chayes, to accomplish and to do, and to really help support the kollel and its mission. And really helping support the kollel is helping support us, because that's our future teachers and our future leaders.
Okay, we're just going to turn on the projector here, and we'll have it live momentarily.
Okay.
Okay, Rebbe's audio is live, and we're just going to hook up the video now, and we'll be good to go. Just a moment here. Rebbe is larger than life, and I think everybody can hear Rebbe just fine. Go ahead.
First, good evening, although it's just become morning here. In the parshas we're reading these weeks, beginning Shibud Mitzrayim, the first Golus of Klal Yisrael. Golus that really set the pace for so much of what became the unfortunate destiny of Klal Yisrael. The dehumanization of Klal Yisrael by our enemies. And it all began in the weeks that preceded. It all began from Vayeshev, the tragedy of strife within the Shiftei Kol. 12 brothers, they couldn't get along. And that's not just another Bible story. It's not just a matter of the past. The Haftarah of Parshas Vayigash. We read where the Navi Yechezkel is told to take 2 pieces of wood, light on one Yehuda, the other one a fire, and put them together. It's an Avu of Achris Hayonim. Until Achris Hayonim, Yehuda and Ephraim, within Klal Yisrael itself, there's going to be strife. A united Klal Yisrael is part of the vision of Yemesa Mashiach. And until then, we have to work. We have to work towards the shleimus of Klal Yisrael. We have to work towards bringing that. But we understand that it's not something that we can take for granted. It's something that we've got to work on. The natural state of Klal Yisrael up until Achros Hayomim is going to be a Yehuda and Ephraim. Now, on Machlokes Yosef and his brothers, we find various Perushim. I'd like to talk about the Maharal's Mahalach. What the Maharal says very simply, Yosef HaTzadik was on a higher target than his brothers. It's something they did not understand. He was on a higher target. He had different ideas. He had different ideas in Berov Chavero. He had different ideas in Kashrus HaMachalim. He had different ideas in Kedusha. By his standards in Berov Chavero, his brothers were mezalzel in the Bnei Hashvachas. By his standards in Kashrus, they were eating Eber Menachai. By his standards in Kedusha, they were mezalzel in Arayas. He was holding somewhere else. The finer aspects of these areas of the Jew's relationship with his fellow Jew, with the Rebbeinu Shalom, and with himself, in all of these areas, he had different ideas. And as a result of it, when he viewed his brother's behavior, where they weren't holding there, he saw them as just as lacking. So he goes to his father, and he says, my understanding is that my brothers are mazals in these things. The Shvatim, on the other hand, weren't holding where he was. They understood who they were, and they understood that by their standards, they were fine. So who's Yosef? This narcissist sees himself at the center of the universe. A Maitzi Diba, busy telling Lashon Hara about them, Maitzi Shemra about them. And thus we have strife. What's interesting is Mitzad Yosef, it's even his standards in Be'er Adam Lachavero that caused him to go and talk about them. Now, where he was holding, he was right. Where they were holding, they were right. Who's the villain? Who's the victim? The villain is human nature. The victim is Klal Yisrael. And unfortunately, this has been our story all along. Jews are good. Jews are good and we're truth seekers. And every Jew is holding where he's holding. Every Jew has his Shorish HaNeshama. Every Jew has had his experiences. Every Jew has learned what he's learned. Every Jew is growing the way he grows. Some more, some less, some different. And then he views the world through his own eyes. And he views his fellow Jew through his own eyes. And as a result of it, this one is lucky in Bein Adam L'Chaveiro, and this one is lucky in Bein Adam L'Makom. And thus we have strife. And it's only loss of level. It's only Achros Hayomim, when the world comes to Shleimus, that we'll all be able to see past our own limitations, our own darga, our own world and our own Shorish HaNeshama, and understand one another. Our work towards the shleimus of the world, the tikkun olam that we're working for, is to really bring ourselves to the darga where we could see that. I like talking Torah, not current events. There was a request, though, to discuss just what's going on here. What's going on in Eretz Yisrael is another bitter example of the fact that Mashiach isn't here yet. It's a bitter example of the fact that every Jew is living in his own world and just can't see out of it. To make matters just a little worse, it's the Middle East. Passions are high. The science of disagreement and argument is a lot different here than it is in the West. And as a result of it, there's strife, there's hatred, accusations, a total disconnect among Jews. It's obvious that within the various levels, that whole spectrum that's referred to as the Haredi community, with all the different levels, but there's a basic lifestyle that people lead. In that lifestyle, I mean, I don't know what it's like for men, for women, feel awfully uncomfortable having to push through one another. The buses get crowded, We're not talking about a matter of halacha. It is usher to ride in a bus where men and women are not separated. What we're talking about is an awkwardness. And if Mashiach were here, if everyone would feel that way, everyone would understand. The issue is not women's rights. The issue is not a matter of humanism. The issue is simply one of desiring a bus service that is appropriate for the community that it's serving. You know, the same way people want air conditioning, the same way people want comfortable seats. And the bus companies who want to win over the consumer and not lose out to some other company, and there is competition in transportation here, of course would cater to the needs of the society they're serving. It's simple. You got the other side. Have absolutely no understanding of what it's like for a frum man or a frum woman to have to push through a mixed crowd to get to the other side of the bus. You know what it feels like? All they understand is, well, yes, it's Iran. You want to live your life your way, that's one thing, but not something that seems like apartheid, not something that seems like you're openly declaring that we're going to go to the back of the bus. So of course, add to that a little bit of politics, and yes, by some strange coincidence, there's a new man has entered politics just this week. One of the more outspoken leftist, anti-religious newsman has decided to leave the world of communication and enter the world of politics. So what do you get? There's a civil war. I mean, chas v'sholem that it really should deteriorate any further. So what's the answer? What's the answer? The answer is understanding one another. The answer is educating one another. The answer is, from Yidden have to learn to understand they're not yet from neighbors. True, they're instigators. There is a certain degree of, I guess, what we call anti-Semitism there. But for most innocent, irreligious people, our lifestyle does sound a little off. And the way to go about it is not by fighting and making accusations. The way to go about it is to explain to them just where we're coming from, which I haven't really heard much of. On the other hand, when you're talking about our brethren, there's just so much that they have to learn. I'd like to go a little further. You know, it's become, in recent years in Israeli politics, the approach of the Frum has been, we're fighting for our rights. And something rubs me the wrong way about that. The mitzvah of techocha, as we find it, in Refrat, there's a sheet of a kubetzes that's brought down la halacha. When there's a forgotten mitzvah, we forget all of the exceptions to techocha, and you've got to get out there and remind people that this is a mitzvah on the books. Telling people that we're fighting for our rights means that, you know, there are different kinds of Jews. There are observant Jews and non-observant Jews. Non-observant Jews don't have to observe. Observant Jews do have to observe. And we're worried about our lifestyle, and we, who make up a certain percentage of the population, have the right to go and fight for that, run our communities the way we want to, be it our bus service, be it the structure of the schools, and so on. Please, why are we so worried about ourselves? There's a much more important message to get across. That message is Judaism that every Jew is required to understand and keep. Why are we fighting for our rights? We should be fighting for their rights as Jews to know about their Judaism. There's so many issues. I don't really understand why we've got to use our points on fighting for mixed buses, for separate buses. I think every Kanoi in Klal Yisrael, every zealot, should fulfill what the Chazon Ish writes is today's obligation of the Kanoi. The Chazon Ish writes, the Gemara tells us that when you deal with an Apikoros, the halach is Marivim V'lo Malin. You're supposed to find some way of getting rid of them, getting them out of this world. And so it was in many generations. The local Apikoros who was making trouble for the community, I mean, they would drown him in the mikveh or something like that. Says the Chazon Ish, the purpose of doing that is to be Mekadosh Shem Shemayim and get rid of a nichshel, a person who is teaching people, who's teaching other Jews that there's an alternative to observance. Says the Chazon Ish, today, you do a thing like that, the message you're giving off is that Orthodox Jews are violent. He says the way we are Mekayim, Moridim V'Lamarim today is by Kiruv, by being Mekayim people. So I call upon every Kanoi in Klal Yisrael to be Mekayim the Chazon Ish's Moridim V'Lamarim and get out there and fight for the sake of informing Jews of what Judaism is all about. The tragedy of the disconnect, of the inability to communicate, and above all, of the direction that the Haredi community has taken, which is standing up for our rights, rather than really educating. It's so painful, but it's a fact of life. The only thing that's really going to change things like this is once again that Nes of Achros Hayomim, the Nevuah of Yecheskel. Until that point, any one of us who knows better and understands has got to put all of his efforts to reaching as many Jews as possible. You know, I wish we had in our Kollel more people that can relate to the Middle Eastern mentality, more fluent in the language and familiar with the Israeli sense of humor, so that they can accomplish more in Eretz Yisrael itself. Because certainly that's the place where that is the place where it all starts from. Unfortunately, we're limited. The people we get are from the West and go back to the West. And Baruch Hashem are making so much of a difference. We're working for pure organizations around the world, whether it be as Rabbanim in shuls, congregations that are weaker, be it as part of outreach kollel in different communities. They're making a difference. Of course, there's so much more to do. In Eretz Yisrael, there's so much to do too. That would be a great tikkun. I'm looking forward to the day that we can reach them too. In terms of ourselves, every Yid has this responsibility. Talk to whoever you can. Maybe take advantage of this opportunity where, I guess if you wear a kippah today, people may start asking you questions. The issue is not defending the need for separate buses. The issue is understanding where Jews are coming from. The issue is understanding that there's a Bari Olam, there's a creator, and that there are values that Judaism is all about. And it's a responsibility. And the strife is a reminder that we have yet to live up to our responsibility. May Hashem give us the seichel, the means to reach the hearts of our brethren and bring the day that the Eitz Yehuda and the Eitz Ephraim will be one. All of Klal Yisrael will be able to understand each other and grow, and everyone on his madrega, with his understanding and his accomplishments in Ruchnias, will also have an understanding where everyone else is coming from, where everyone else is holding. And together, there'll be that beautiful harmony. I want to just end with a thought that we find in the Torah Tanima of all places. He writes, on the one hand, David HaMelech is accused of calling different Torahs Zmiras. Zmiras, he belittles Torah, he turns it into song. Yet, Moshe Rabbeinu gives us the mitzvah of writing a Sefer Torah, and it is called Kisvei Lochemes HaShira Azos. Torah is called Shira. What's the difference between Shira and Zmiris? So he says Zmiris are songs. Shira is the idea of music. The beauty of music, everyone knows is harmony. And he writes that the beauty of Torah is that every Yid has the right and responsibility to learn on the basis of his shorish and neshama and his personality. And every Jew is going to have a slightly different way of being Mekayim that very same mitzvah. We're not talking about a free-for-all. We're talking about the person. No two Shabbos tables are the same. No two people are looking for that same esrog. The Torah says it's got to be Hadar. No two Jews will have the same interpretation of Hadar. I had this experience once here in Yerushalayim. You can draw your own mayim shalom, your own water for baking matzahs. And there's an exact time that you're supposed to go draw the water. There's different sheets as to what that exact time was. I was one year, it was my job in our matzah chavura, years ago. I believe I was still a bacher. It was my job to go draw water. So I come to this, the mayim where I was going to go and draw the water. I got there just before Shkia, and it is packed. Everyone's standing there with their jerry cans waiting to fill them. And everyone's looking at their watches. It was not all that big a mayim. I could not imagine how we all, for that little window of a couple of minutes, how we all going to draw water just at the right moment. Turns out, who draws water from matzahs with their jerry cans? These are all people that have learned up the sugya, coming along, and they want the perfect matzah chavur. Well, everyone had their own sheet as to the exact moment that you're supposed to draw the water. Every person there got the water at the precise time they wanted it. There were no conflicts. It was wonderful. The beauty of the Shira of Torah. If we could all appreciate it, everyone find the beauty of every word of Chazal, the beauty of every sugya, the beauty of every halacha, and apply it to Sharish HaNeshama, and grow and reach his level of Aliyah Ruchnis, and understand where everyone else is coming from. Together we can have beautiful harmony. Klal will be one big, beautiful orchestra, singing Kvod Shalom. Everyone his own pitch, but always to the same beat. And it's the same Torah we've got, and the same Torah mitzvahs. And Mirza Hashem, Mala Red's day after the knowledge of the Rebbe. I thank you all for coming tonight. I would want to the question and answer session, but you see it's late now. I go down. So I thank you all for coming. And Mirza Hashem, may more and more from Jews understand their problem and dedicate their lives to bringing the word, the Dvar Hashem, to the masses, bringing the beauty of Yiddishkeit to one another. You should all be matzliach in everything you're doing, and recognize that as an Orthodox Jew, you are an ambassador of the Rebbeinu Shalom to all of your Jewish neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebbe.
Does Rebbe have any time at all for questions?
Maybe another minute or two, but I really got to run. Okay.
We're gonna give the microphone to Mushkir here.
Anybody have any questions? Anybody in the back have a question for the Rav? Anyone? This is your chance. You got 2 minutes.
No one wants to keep us.
What's the no one wants to be?
Wants to go.
Okay, go ahead. Take it.
It's Ari. I have a question. I'm not scared.
Talk loud so everybody else can hear you.
So, it may be that some of us here are wondering why there hasn't been more of a response from whatever the amorphous leadership of the Torah Olam is to what's appropriate and what's not appropriate in terms of the conflicts that have been going on. The statements have come out from maybe from the organizations in North America, but we haven't felt like the statements have come out. Maybe there's not penetrating our media from various personalities in Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah, the statements have come out. The statements have come out. Without question, the statements have come out. There's been a condemnation of all forms of violence, and that is not Avodas Hashem. Reb Steinman wrote a letter about how there's a chiyuv to respect women, and all the Orthodox Jews do. But all that sounds feeble. The ikar of what they've come out with is, and again, this is the way things work in the Middle East. Most of the literature that has come out, there's a feeling of being attacked, and they're on the defensive and on the offensive attacking the other side. That's what most of the literature is. When I was talking about the Middle Eastern mentality and the passion, unfortunately, that's the way it presents itself here. Yes, they've made their statements, but those are not the ones that are being publicized. The ones that are being publicized are everybody's attack on the other side, accusing everybody of just looking for trouble. The issue is more than anything else. It's a Middle Eastern mentality. When every time Khalil is an attack, there's got to be a retaliation. Without a retaliation, it just doesn't work. It's the way things work here. I don't think it has anything to do with Yiddishkeit. It's a culture, and we certainly hope that our kids who grew up here in Israel and our Israelis have developed something of a different culture. The statements have been made, but they are definitely overshadowed by the other statements. I really must go. Everybody, thank you for coming once again.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
There should be harmony in Klal Yisrael in a big way.
Amen. I just want to take 1 minute to, first of all, thank Berkovits for addressing us, taking the time early in the morning in Jerusalem. But second of all, to thank the Kriegers, Moshe Krieger and his wife, for hosting the event, putting a lot of work in. And there was also a little bit of a team behind making tonight happen. I'd like to thank Mark Halprin, who not only was willing to host it, but then even when he wasn't, got behind to help make it happen, to send out word, to help put together a flyer. Dvorale Knafo, just a quick word because it's a bit of an inspiration to all of us. On Rosh Hashanah, she decided she wanted to do more klal work and help Klal Yisrael. And she thought, who else would she like to help more than Rav Yitzchak Berkovits and the Jerusalem Kollel? She contacted me and said, I want to help, what can I do? So the idea came up to do a Parlour meeting. That's where it all started this past Rosh Hashanah, and that's why we're all here tonight. So thank you also to Dvorale Knafo. And just a final word that K'nai Nohora, in the 9-10 years that Jerusalem Kollel has been around, we've sent out 150 young alike to different outreach programs around the world, and we're making a big difference. We have 80 guys in training now, all for a mere $750,000 budget a year, which on the one hand sounds like a lot, but for what we're accomplishing, it's really grushim. And I would like to call on everyone here, I'd like to say that, when a person makes an investment, they want the greatest return on their investment. Well, when you invest in your stock, you also want a great return on your investment. And what you get when you invest in the Jerusalem Kollel, besides the 3 years that the guys are steiging and learning and strong and responsible for the material they're learning, once they go out to help Klal Yisrael, you're getting residual income on your investment, and schar that's going to be eternal. So please give generously, whatever you can, stretch yourself a little bit. Thanks for coming, and thanks to all our hosts. Yasher Koach.
If you'd like to be on the email list of Rav Berkovits that he sends out a weekly email, there's a list on the outside by the food over here on the table. You can just write down an email address, and Josh will add your email to that list.